Morning, guys. Another major fear we have in our lives, and this is true for most of us, is the fear of loss of love. And this is a really tough one because our very essence, everything we're made of, all the truth principles we're made of, it's all love. And we want to feel that connection, that love, that belonging with every single human being. That's what we really want deep down inside. But unless we become centered on correct principles and things that are intangible, things we can't see, energies that we can't see, unless we become centered on finding our true happiness, freedom, and success, and if we're not happy, nobody else around us can be happy because we're not giving the best of ourselves. So we have to overcome this fear of losing love, fear of losing people that we love most. And if we do, we can achieve our greatness. Have a great day, everyone.
So I have no science background. And by the way, my first company was a computer background. When I started that, I didn't even seen the computer in my life. So I have no computer science background. When I started a space company, I have no idea how rockets work, right? I have no idea of astronomy. I have no idea how orbits work. Is that I go and learn, and then I surround myself with the smartest people, and then I question them. Why can't we do it this way? And every time you question an expert, why can't we do it this way? And the first answer they always tell you is, it just won't work. And you say, tell me why it won't work. And they always say, do you know much about it? No, but why don't you explain that to me then? And by the time they finish explaining, oh, it just might work.
Right.
Right. And that is the thing, is surround yourself with an expert and you keep questioning every single thing they are asking you to do.
How did you get the self-confidence to know that you could go in and maybe not become a rocket scientist, but be able to be in a group, not be bamboozled by them, be able to get them past their own limiting beliefs so that you could, build this extraordinary company or Enviome?
Sure. So I think it's just idea of bootstrapping. So bootstrapping is you learn a little bit and then you learn more from because you learned a little bit. So once you get the basic foundation and the basic vocabulary of a particular subject, then you start reading book and then you get a lot more knowledge. And that allows you to learn a little bit more about a science paper, and you don't have to know a lot. And then I can go, and today every time I read a science paper, I don't understand 80% of it. Then I go ask my guys and say, hey, can you look at this science paper and explain that to me in real English? What is it they're trying to say? Right? And now tell me, what is it that we can learn from it that we can apply?
You have no idea what you're capable of. You have no idea. You have no idea the person you could be, the things you could accomplish, the things you can do, the people you can serve. You have no idea. That's why I don't like 10-year goals. 10-year goals. Think about who you used to be 10 years ago. Could that person accurately, with any degree of certainty, predict where you could be right now? No. Like, if you're growing and you're learning and you're improving and you're expanding, you're investing in yourself, there's no way that you know where you're going to be in 1 year, let alone 5 years or 10 years. You have no idea what you're capable of. And so it comes down to questioning everything. To question what you can and can't do. We're told the story growing up of what you should do, and we're told everything, right? You're told when to show up and where to go and what to wear and what to eat and at what age you should get married and what kind of career you should go into, right? We're told we should do all these things. You're told, you're like, who? Nobody ever thought to ask us what we want for our lives. And you may not even know, and that's okay. Like, you may know where you want to go next, but you may not ultimately know the final destination. It's awesome. I think if you know the final destination, you're thinking small. Apart from having a mission, the mission, the purpose. Why do you do what you do? I want to solve the world's biggest problem. People don't believe in themselves enough. That's what I'm chasing down every day. Do I know where I'm going to be in a year? Nope. Am I still making videos? Probably, but who knows? Like, question everything. I want people to believe in themselves more. What's the best way to do that? Right now, it's through YouTube. But I think a lot of times people have too certain of a plan, and then they end up playing small, because there's nothing wrong with having goals and plans, but sometimes you need to jump off that. If you have a 10-year goal, quite often you need to jump off that goal 2 years in, because something better has come along that actually better serves who you are right now, because the goal you set was for who you used to be. Have you felt that? And so I'm here at Genius Network, and this is a group of super successful entrepreneurs that meets once a month in masterminds and talk about their business, and pay a lot of money to be a part of something like this. And every time I'm around people who are having a high degree of success, I always try to have them pick me apart. So when we do, there's an exercise called hot seats, where you go around the table and you basically share what you think your biggest problem is. And whenever it gets to my turn, I just want people to ask me questions, because your biggest problem is you don't know what your biggest problem is. Right? Your biggest problem is you don't know what your biggest problem is. If you knew what your biggest problem was, you can go and solve it. For entrepreneurs, for ambitious people, you've got goals. It's like, you don't know what the real problem is. The problem you think you have is a problem. You know, the problem you think you have, yes, very much is a problem, but there's a deeper problem underneath it that you're missing, that I'm missing. So this is where questioning everything becomes important. My default has become, instead of pretending like I know everything and I know all my problems, that I don't know anything, and ask me questions. And in the process of asking me questions and learning about me, maybe you come up with some insight that I'd never seen before. Everybody has their own way of processing giving advice, you know? So I'm around people here. Everybody here has a 7 or 8 figure or 9 figure business, and people here have sold their businesses for 9 figures. Crazy. Awesome. And so they have their own way of processing things and asking questions and breaking somebody down. So instead of me coming in with the question and having them try to fit into my box, I'd rather fit into theirs. Because in trying to understand how they process things, it'll probably make me stretch and grow and learn. And I'm probably going to get a better result because they're going to see something that I don't see. And so in the process of questioning everything, when people can break you down and you're open to it, right? Because we hold on to our identity. Like, no, that's not going to work for me. You know, even, oh, got a bee. I am allergic to bees. Maybe I should question that. I don't feel like questioning that today, though. Do not want to get stung by a bee. I once got stung by a bee, and only time in my life I've been stung by a bee, and I was on the floor, and my back just swelled up from the bee sting. Anyway, maybe question everything except bee stings. How about that? There's been times when people have given me advice and it made sense and it really fit, and sometimes when it didn't. And even if it doesn't make sense, what I'll default in my head to saying is, this is either nothing, like the person didn't read me correctly, or it's the whole thing. Think about it. If you're really opposed to somebody's advice or feedback for you, if somebody gives you great advice, like, oh wow, that's really cool, I should go and do that, cool. They met you where you are at and you understand it. But there'll be other times when it doesn't feel right. And it could be that it just wasn't a fit and they're giving you the wrong advice, or you're so blind, and this is what gets me excited, is maybe I'm so blind, maybe I believe my story so much that the thing that you're talking about is actually the whole thing. Like, it's all I should care about. Because figuring out how to solve that, because I'm so tied to my own story that I'm not questioning enough. I'm coming back to the B spot. Hopefully it's gone. I'm not questioning enough, and figuring that out becomes the whole unlock. So a quick story on this. I did a life coaching session with Gary Vee's life coach, Beth Hendel. And at first I was shocked. I didn't know Gary Vee had a life coach, and so I was very excited to talk to her. And just like I've been explaining in this video, I went through her process. Like, how do you ask questions? What do you want to know about me? I don't want it to be, if this is a coaching session, just treat me as a client. Treat me as somebody who you're going to coach. What do you need to know from my story and how I act? And I'm gonna be as open, as honest as possible. And what it led to was, a lot of the stuff she was saying was great, but my single biggest insight and takeaway was this, and I'm practicing this every single day now. The one takeaway that has honestly changed my life. Historically, I've been the person who believes in the plan. So what's my plan to get to the next step? Like, I want to go here, what's my plan? What's my plan? What's my plan? So I have the belief in the plan. And I wake up every day and I just do the plan because I believe in the plan. I'll have some days where I don't believe in a plan anymore. Like, will this plan help get me anywhere? Is this plan still working? Like, it's not working anymore. And that leads to some anxiety for me because I believe in the plan. And when the plan doesn't work, what happens? And so what I'll end up doing is making a new plan. So I have a plan, I believe in a plan until I don't believe in it anymore, causes anxiety, come up with a new plan. You following? So in creating a new plan, then I have certainty in the plan again and I'm fine and I'm rocking and rolling. But there are some days when I can't come up with a new plan. The plan I have, I don't believe in anymore, and I'm racking my brain to come up with a new plan, and I can't come up with a new plan. If I'm the kind of person who believes in the plan and then I can't come up with a new plan, that's a really stress-inducing, anxiety-filled place to be. And it doesn't happen that often. But when it does, and I can't come up with a new plan, especially in the moment, well, what I would end up telling myself is great things happen to me. You know what? You know what happened? Great things happen to you. And I would use it as a self-soothing mechanism, as a coping mechanism, because I didn't want to just stay locked in that stress and it would be a downward spiral. Like if I believe in a plan and the plan's not working and I can't come up with a new plan, then I don't know what to do with my life. And that would create a downward spiral. I've never gone anywhere close to depression or suicide, but that could lead to some dark places. And so the way that I come out of it is just say, great things will happen to me. Great things happen to me. They always happen to me. Great things happen to me, and I'll figure this out. And that gives me the comfort to move forward into the uncertainty, and then something will come that I will solve it. And what she said was, Gary Vee's life coach was, what you say to yourself when you need that self-soothing of great things happen to you needs to be your default state. So instead of believing in the plan as your default state and only going to great things happen to you when you are at the lowest of your low, flip it to the point where great things happen to you is the default, because that's where you're actually your best self. And I really felt that. I don't know how to do it, but even in questioning how do I do it, I just had to believe that great things happen to me. So a big part of my routine now is I don't know how many times I'll say that to myself, feel that great things happen to me. I'm gonna put it as my new cell phone background. It's a constant reminder. Even making this video is another reinforcement of it. When people ask me what my goals are, there's been these exercises we've been doing in Genius Network here, and I just keep reminding myself, I don't know, I don't have a 10-year goal. Great things happen to me. It's a constant reminder, and I used to live it before this awareness. I don't know, like how many times would I feel really down and low and anxiety filled that I couldn't come up with a new plan? Maybe half of 1% of the time, like really small amounts. And now I'm probably living in great things happen to me maybe 5% of the time, 10% of the time, which is a huge jump from half of 1%, but it's still not my default mode yet. I'm still a believe in the plan guy. That's my ongoing challenge to myself. That's how I'm questioning. It's the willingness to question what you're doing. Because what you're doing right now has gotten you to where you're at. And if you're happy with where you're at, cool. But if you want more, you want to create more, you want to serve more, you want to bring more, you want to help more, you want more, you want to change, and you have to change. And the change starts with not just questioning everything out there, but question everything in here. Questioning what you believe to be true, questioning who you think you are, questioning for sure what you think you're capable of. Because when you can get to the root of that, amazing things can happen.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. If you want to see my one-on-one with Naveen, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Self-belief comes from self-love. Right? The minute you fall in love with yourself, is the day the world will fall in love.
Hey guys, today Oprah Winfrey shares another rule of success for her, and that is find your purpose. I love this one. This is everything. If we don't know what it is we're supposed to be doing, we don't know which way to go. We don't know how to guide our thoughts, our actions, our everything. So for me, it's determination. That's why I love my one word. Determination means decision, deciding, and then desiring and never giving up until you go after what you really want. See, we have to have that sense of that we're headed in the right direction. And so you got to find your purpose. Oprah Winfrey has shared with us that if you don't have a purpose, you're just wandering around. You're just drifting. And you're not meant to do that. We're meant to lock into something, which is our true greatness, and bring it out and share it with the world. But find out what it is you really want and go after it like your life depends on it. Have a great day, everyone.
I want you to work on your self-belief and confidence. Write out what kind of confidence you will need to have to achieve that goal. What beliefs do you need to believe to achieve that goal? You know, someone said to Michael Jordan, "You're so lucky." He said, "I know. The more I train, the luckier I become, because you make your own luck." Write out your beliefs. Write out the confidence you will give to yourself, because you can fill yourself up with confidence. You were born with it. You haven't lost it. You've just buried it under limiting beliefs. You can remove those. Let's go to another page, and this is really important. You are worth it. You might go, "Look, that's just the same as the other page." Not quite. And even if it was, I want you to exhaust yourself with writing. You may just say, "I've only written 3 lines." It's fine, but tomorrow you might think of another one and come back. Why are you worth it? Why do you deserve this goal? What makes you worth it? Why do you know you're worth it? How do you know you are worth it? And if you don't know, how are you going to know that you are worth it? You must believe you're worth it. You must know you're worth it. When you know it, the world will join you in knowing it too. Remember, pause the video. Please don't try and keep up with me. This is serious. I want you to pause, write, unpause, write more. I want you to do this. Most people listen to these tutorials, but this is not something to listen to. It's something to participate in. Do it with me. I'm doing this for you. I want you to have phenomenal success. And while you're writing, I'm going to tell you something you probably already know. There were many studies in the 50s where they took a group of graduates and said, "How many of you have goals? And how many of you write them down?" Amazingly, I think, this is not word for word, so please don't quote me, but I pretty much know this. I believe 3% of that graduating year had goals and wrote them out. A higher percentage had goals and didn't write them out, and another group had no goals at all. They went back 20 years later, 30 years later. The wealth of the 3% who had goals and wrote them out was worth more than the other 97% combined. Not only did they have monetary goals that they'd reached, they had better relationships, better health, and all of this was attributed right back to one thing. They had goals, they wrote them out, and they wrote out how to achieve them, why to achieve them, what it would feel like when they achieved them, who would benefit when they achieved them. They didn't probably do all of that, but that's what I make my clients do. And if you do it, You know that you can have that success because that test has been done more than once. It was done again in the 1980s. It was done again in the 1990s. And we're doing it today. Write out your goals, write out your why, write out your reasons, write out what you are going to learn. The new things you're going to learn. If you're going to be a writer, you're going to be a speaker. If you're going to have your own business, you better learn accountancy, and so on and so on. If you're going to sell, you need to learn how to speak. If you want to be a great anything, you need to learn marketing. I train people into being phenomenal therapists. I tell them the truth. Look, it doesn't matter how amazing you are if nobody knows where you are.
The biggest message I want to get across when it comes to the law of attraction is that it requires effort. It requires some type of action. That's why in the word attraction, you see action in the word. You don't just get to write down something on a piece of paper or have a vision board or map something out or cut out photos and look at it in front of you every single day, or write down things on a piece of paper and think hard about it for a few minutes and then expect everything in your life to change and to be this magnet of opportunities, to have everyone that you want in your life attracted to you, money, good health, opportunities with your career. It's not going to happen overnight like that. And I wish it did, but it's not that easy. So there are some beliefs and actions that we need to take place in order for it to work, and that's what we're going to do by diving into today. So the first thing you want to think about is switching from negativity to positivity. So many people get caught up in focusing on what they don't want to happen in their future. And I want to talk about this a little bit towards the end of this video on how to focus on some of the negative things that could happen, but really focusing on the positive for the main part of your life. We'll talk about that towards the end because this is an important distinction. But they start living almost in constant fear of what could go wrong and what won't work out. And when we come from this place of, well, I don't know if I put myself out there, it's not going to work out, and then I'm going to get made fun of, and then I'm going to be embarrassed, and I'm going to be stressed, and no one's going to love me. And then we go in this rabbit hole and this kind of cycle of fear and anxiety, and that is not how you attract good things in your life. You can't start from your way of being of negativity and fear and expect to attract beautiful things in your life. So we need to eliminate the negative self-talk, and an environment that's easy to get stuck in sometimes can be the negative self-talk. And there's so much negativity in the world, and if you don't actively work to shift your focus, to shift your thoughts in your mind, that negativity will consume you. And that's where the law of attraction comes in. Now, for me, it's about focusing less on what I don't want to happen in the future and actually focus on what I do want. And again, I think a lot of people focus on what they don't want too much. And you start to attract the things you're thinking about. I don't want this, I don't want that. Those things start to come to you. You start to see them. It's like the old example of someone says, don't think of a pink elephant. You start to see it and you start to imagine it. If you say, well, I don't want to be poor, you start to feel it and you start to imagine it and you start to have anxiety around it. So you want to really think about the positive things in your life. You want to think about, what do I want to attract? Who do I want to become? What do I want to overcome? So for example, if you're becoming a negative person, you're more likely to attract more negative people rather than positive ones, because positive people won't want to be around you. Negativity keeps company, and so does positivity. When you start to see other positive people that are like you, you say, I want to hang out with those people. Those people are going to continue to lift me up. I can lift them up. It's a good cycle. But the negative stuff you start to attract. When you talk about gossip and you talk about bad news and you talk about comparison and judgment and anxiety and stress, that feeds in a community of other people that speak in the same language. So you want to shift your language and start thinking more positively. And if you feel like you aren't deserving of a loving relationship, a loving partner, you're most likely going to attract the wrong type of people in your life. And if you're focusing on how much money you don't have in your life right now or how your business could fail, you're not going to be able to focus your energy on the right clients or the products that will take your business to the next level, or the skills you need to develop to help you grow. Now, your thoughts dictate your actions and where your energy goes. So you want to be thinking about What can I do to replace these negative thoughts, the anxiousness or the fear? How can I replace it so my energy can go in a more positive direction? And again, where you put your energy into is what you attract. So if you're thinking negative thoughts all day long, you're probably going to attract that. If you're thinking gratitude and positive thoughts, you'll start to see that show up differently. So how can we put the law of attraction into practice? Now let's go back to our examples and apply a new way of thinking. If you're caught in thinking negatively about the world and about yourself, this is so important. What would change inside of you if you looked around and you wrote down 5 things that you're grateful for about the world? Now, this, for me, is part of the secret to the law of attraction. It's the foundation is gratitude. It's your way of being must be grateful in order to attract new things. There's so many things in my life that I should not have attracted because I didn't have the skills, because I didn't have the tools, because I didn't have the education, because I didn't have the money, because I didn't have the resources. So many things that I shouldn't have attracted, but because I had the foundation of gratitude, passion, joy, curiosity, those things started to come to me, and they can come to you as well if you come from that place of gratitude as your foundation. So you want to think about, what are these things that are important to me in my life? You know, it can be simple things. It could be like this cup of coffee that I have right now. It can be that I have a roof over my head, that I've got quality friends, that I'm healthy, you know, that I'm walking in nature today. It doesn't have to be some grandiose thing that's happened to you to be grateful for. I'm so grateful for these little present moments with people that I care about, to spend an hour on the beach, to go for a walk with a friend, to have a good conversation with someone and talk about something that I'm going through. For me, that's just as meaningful. The moments in between the big moments are just as meaningful. So write down these things or think about these things. This is something I embed in my daily life. When I wake up, I think about what I'm grateful for. When I go to sleep, I think about and reflect on the things I'm grateful for from that day. And it's just my way of being for as much as I can. Now, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, and there's some times I'm negative, but it's something that I try to really focus on as much as possible. So instead of saying that you're not enough, that you don't deserve success, what if you looked in the mirror on a daily basis? I dare you to look in the mirror on a daily basis and say, I am enough, and I do deserve the results that I want to create in my life because I show up, because I'm consistent, because I work hard, because I care about my work. If you looked in the mirror and you did this consistently for 30 days and you actually use the word action in attraction and you put it into practice on a daily basis towards that growth, I'd be amazed to see what you attract and what you manifest in your life. Or if you felt like you weren't deserving of a loving partner and just kept focusing on the wrong people, what if you said, you know what? I am deserving of a loving partner because I care deeply about those around me and I'm worthy of feeling deeply cared about myself. And what if you started to change your thoughts and behaviors around yourself and say, I'm not going to keep doing the things that I've always done. I'm going to start showing up differently and love myself and not needing someone else to love me who maybe isn't in the right mindset. And start distancing yourself from those typical patterns that you've had in the past and love yourself first and see what you attract from that loving, grateful place with yourself. Or if you are in a tough financial spot, maybe you're struggling financially and you've been trying to start a business or a side hustle. I've been there. I know what this is like. It's not fun. For a long time, I was living on my sister's couch and I didn't have much money. It was really stressful. I remember this feeling of being stuck, feeling like I was never going to make any money. And when I was focusing on that feeling of I'm never going to make this money, I feel stuck, I feel trapped, when's this going to happen, feeling this anxiousness, this stress around it, it was really impossible for me to think of creative ideas. It was impossible for me to take action because I was living in the stress as opposed to the gratitude for what I was having in that moment. I should have been focusing on, you know what, my sister is allowing me to stay here for free, so I have some time to learn a new skill. I made $100 this day. I should be grateful for that. Not focusing on what I'm lacking or what I don't have, but what I am creating on a daily basis. And I started to ask different questions around this time, like how can I be of service to other people? How can I add as much value to someone else? Or what are my top skill sets that I can use to my advantage that no one else has. Like, what do I have? I started writing a list of all these different skills that I had. Even when I didn't think I had many skills, I still wrote down a list of the qualities I have, of the skills from the past that maybe I could apply to right now. And when I began asking those types of questions, I started attracting the people who needed my skill sets and services. And I finally started to make more money than ever before because I was thinking about serving others. I was thinking from a positive, grateful standpoint about helping others and starting a side hustle which turned into a business, instead of thinking negatively about not having any money, or I'm sleeping on my sister's couch and why is it taking me so long to create this and I'll never make anything from this situation. I started focusing on how can I add value, as much value as possible, to this one person in front of me right now. How can I serve them? How can I create for them? How can I connect someone to them that could help them? What can I do to add value and help someone else achieve their goals? Because I think, as Zig Ziglar said, if you want to accomplish all of your goals, help other people accomplish their goals. And that's what I started focusing on. Not what I'm lacking, but how can I give and how can I add value to other people? When you focus outward on service, you start to really attract some incredible things in your life. It's unbelievable, the ripple effect, the domino effect, one person helping another person, how it comes back around to you.
If the sun is energy and you sit outside and you're enjoying the sun and it's nice and warm, if you sit long enough, the concentration of energy on your face may cause a little bit of a tan, right? So it's going to cause your skin to get tanned. Agreed? So the energy is having an effect. The energy that's 93 million miles away, that's taking 8.8 minutes to reach my face from the sun, can affect my skin, right? Now, what if I took that sun, and in between the sun and my face, okay, I took that light, right? You see the light? If I took that light and focused it through the lens, concentrated it to my face, could I burn a hole in my skin? Or if I took one of my goal cards, right? This is my goal cards, right? If I took the sun, right, and I used it to magnify, to increase the amplitude of the vibration of the energy called the sun through the magnifying glass, onto the paper, right? Could I burn a hole in the paper by focusing that energy? General sun, right, is general heat. But with a little bit of focus and concentration, right, I can increase the amplitude of the vibration of the sun. Now, stay with me. Watch this. What if I took the same sun and instead of just focusing the sun a little bit, okay, between the sun and the paper, what if I reduced the energy or increased the amplitude of vibration so I can actually get a laser, single photon, same sun, but focused even more highly, okay? Could I use the energy of the sun to create a laser to burn through a piece of steel? Yes or yes? It's not a no, yes or no question. It's a yes or yes answer. Okay. Why is this important? Okay, it's important because the more you learn to concentrate, okay, the more you learn to concentrate, your brain, the electromagnetic switching station that can be fragmented or focused on your vision, health goals, wealth goals, relationship goals, career goals, the more you can stop being distracted, the more you can concentrate. The most powerful tool, the most powerful electromagnetic switching station called your brain, right? You activate that left prefrontal cortex. You activate the emotional parts of your brain. You activate the instinctual parts of your brain. The more you learn how to focus on your precise vision and goals and how you're going to achieve it, and then you take inspired action daily, the more you are concentrating this molecular structure called a human being to move towards the goal, but the more you are in resonance with exactly what you want to achieve. So is it possible that by learning how to do that, you can achieve your goals faster and easier than ever before? And the answer is absolutely. But you know what everybody thinks? Oh, I'm just going to hope and pray and my goals are going to become a reality. That is just bullshit. So stop fooling yourself, okay? I hope you don't mind a little bit of animation. So in the world that we live in, this is one of the other great laws, the law of cause and effect, okay? The law of cause and effect. For every effect, there's a cause, and for every cause, there's an effect. So if you are thinking positively but feeling negatively, that is a self-fulfilling doom loop. Cause, effect, cause, effect. You have to do, okay, I'm going to type in something right now, S-E-M-P. All right, S-E-M-P, I just typed the word for you. S is you've got to get the spiritual energy, the emotional energy, the mental energy, and the physical energy in alignment. If any one of those four things is out of alignment, that would be like having your dial on the radio station for classical music or jazz or rock and roll or love songs just a little bit off the station. Our universe operates by law and precision. At the physical level, physical laws. At the quantum level, quantum laws. And yes, there's randomness in the quantum field, but it operates at lightning speeds perfectly every time, no exceptions.
See this line? That's called the terror barrier. Yeah, jumping at you, isn't it? And on the other side of the terror barrier is something we call freedom. And you know, very few people get through that terror barrier. It's rather sad. Freedom is available to everyone. There isn't anyone that cannot live the way they want to live. See? Why don't they? Why don't they? They don't know. And they don't even know they don't know. Now I'm going to show you why people experience buyer's remorse when they buy something they really want, and then they back away, or they go to move and they don't. They go to change jobs and they don't. They go to move to another city and they don't. Why? Fear causes them to stay where they are. There's the individual. The X represents the unknown factor, the paradigm. Now, there's a power flowing into this individual's mind, and they can make anything out of it they want. Remember we said we had the ability to choose? What do they choose? They choose thoughts that are in harmony with the paradigm. Now, here's an important point. The paradigm controls the vibration of this thing we call our body. Our body is a molecular instrument. That's really what it is. It's a mass of molecules and a very high speed of vibration. The vibration that the body's in on a conscious level, we call feeling. When a person says they feel this way or they feel that way, what they're really doing is describing the vibration they're in. Now, they choose thoughts that harmonize with the vibration they're in so they feel comfortable. They may not like the results, but they're comfortable. Now, let's move ahead. Let's take a look here. Those people are getting X-type results and they don't like it. Do you know what the problem with them? They're in bondage. These people are locked up. Do you know, paradigm is like keeping a person in a prison, only there's no locks on the door. They can open the prison and walk out into freedom anytime they want, and they don't. They keep getting the same results over and over and over again. They're in bondage. Now, let's go ahead. Here's the same person. X-type conditioning, X-type vibration. The power's flowing into them. And for some strange reason from left field, boom, in comes a Y-type idea. What is a Y-type idea? The Y-type idea represents anything that you might want to do that you're not doing. It might be move to another city, change jobs, sell the house, buy the farm, whatever it may be. Ask the little girl for the date. Ask the guy to go to lunch. Go make the sale. Buy what you want. Go where you want to go. That's the Y idea. But as long as the Y idea is just in the conscious mind, it's just going to be an intellectual exercise. It's never going to happen. So how do we make it happen? Well, that's when everything goes haywire. Here we are here, same person, okay? The power flows in. And what do? They got the Y-type idea. Now, for some strange reason, they know that they've got to get emotionally involved if they're going to act on that idea. They don't understand what's going to happen, but clearly understand this. Your central nervous system is the most complex electrical system in the universe. The central nervous system is mind-boggling. It would make the electrical system in a supercomputer look like a toy. Now, the second you take the idea from your intellect and impress it upon the subjective mind, that's when all hell breaks loose. Because the body moves in to an XY vibration. It's not in the X vibration, not the one that we're comfortable with. May not like the results, but we're comfortable. No, on a conscious level, everything's going crazy. On a conscious level, we experience doubt. The doubt turns into an emotion called fear, and that fear is expressed through the body as anxiety. See, that person is getting emotionally involved to move ahead. Do you know what happens? They hit that terror barrier and they bounce off it and right back into bondage. And they're so relieved to get back there. They're back where they're comfortable. They've canceled the sale. They've decided not to move. They're going to stay in the job that they don't like. At least they're comfortable. Now, that's not a very good way to live. And you know something? That's something everybody experiences if they're going to grow. You're going to hit that terror barrier. See, the terror barrier is going beyond where you're at, going to a new level. I'm going to tell you something. When I set a goal, if it doesn't scare and excite me at the same time, I know I'm going in the wrong direction. Now, I also understand that my paradigm is going to try and get me to bounce back to where I was. It doesn't want me to move ahead. I don't want to live there. I lived there for the first 26 years of my life. And for the last 50, I've had a phenomenal life. And it just keeps getting better. And I want you to do the same thing. Understand what I've just said. I'm going to back this up. They got emotionally involved in the why idea. That moved their body into a different vibration. On a conscious level, they're experiencing some crazy stuff. They start to doubt their ability, they'll never be able to pay for it. They experience fear. The fear expresses itself as anxiety. And bang, you bounce off that terror barrier and you're right back. Oh, I might not be earning much here, but I know what it is. I would love to move there, but I'm comfortable here. I think I'll just stay here. These people are acting like they have a contract to live forever. And they don't. Do you know what to do? Say, I'm going to get rid of all that. I understand it's there, but I don't want any part of it. And I'm going to go crashing right through that terror barrier. Now, does that get rid of the X energy? No. The X energy is still there, you see. But at least you're over into freedom. You made the move. You did it. And if you continue to feed the right information into your mind, keep feeding that why idea. Keep getting emotionally involved in the why idea. You're there. You're on the road. Keep doing that. You're going to find that the paradigm is going to change and it'll just all go away. And you know where you're living? In freedom. You're living where you want to live. Buyer's remorse is when you cancel the sale. Buyer's remorse is when you stop just before you buy what you really want. Before you go for the thing that's going to change your life and you know it. It's not moving to the other city. It's not starting the business of your dreams. It's not stepping out and betting on yourself. That's a terror barrier that's causing that. And if you don't learn to go through the terror barrier, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to stay right where you are for the rest of your days. That's not a good place to be. What did Joseph Campbell say? So true. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.
Someone who has some faith in a god or in a temple or whatever, who is simple-minded. Faith works only for those people who are simple-minded. Thinking people, people who are too much thinking, for them it never works. A childlike person who has a simple faith in his god or his temple or whatever, he goes to the temple and says, Shiva, I want a house. I don't know how. You must make it for me. Now in his mind there are no negative thoughts. Will it happen? Will it not happen? Is it possible? Is it not possible? These things are completely removed by this simple act of faith. Now he believes Shiva will do it for him and it will happen. So is Shiva going to come and build your house? No, I want you to understand, God will not lift his little finger for you. What you refer to as God is the source of creation. As a creator, he has done a phenomenal job, there's no question about it. Could you think of a better creation than this? Is it in anybody's imagination to think anything better than what is there right now? So as a creator, he has done his job wonderfully well. But if you want life to happen the way you want it, because right now, the very crux of your happiness and your well-being is this. If at all if you're unhappy, the only and only reason why you're unhappy is life is not happening the way you think it should happen. That's all it is. So if life is not happening the way you think it should happen, you're unhappy. If life happens the way you think it should happen, you're happy. It's as simple as that.
Good morning, guys. As we live, laugh, and love our way to infinite mind wealth, we got to remember the words of Les Brown. Les Brown is amazing in the way he's lived, loved, and laughed his way, and he's still on his way to infinite mind wealth. I want to borrow from him today. In his speech at the Georgia Dome, he made a comment about how we can approach all the struggles, all the defeats, all the setbacks we're going to have on this path. And I love his line. I think one of the lines that he used was, don't say that you're having a bad day, say that you're having a character building day. And I love that. That's something we have to hold on to. If we can hold on to that one thought in everything we do, it will definitely put us on that path to loving our way to infinite mind wealth. Because we're building character. We're not having a bad day. We got to change that thought. We're building character, which is the absolute essential to being our truly great self. Have a great day, everyone.
Most of us have been conditioned not to take a risk. People ask me all the time, what does it take to be happy? And I always tell them it's really simple. One word, progress. Progress equals happiness. If you keep growing, you're going to feel alive. And if you keep growing, you're going to have more to give. And when you're growing and giving is when life is magnificent. It doesn't matter how many statues, Oscars they give you, or Emmys, or how much money you have in the bank. We've all seen people have all those things, and I get the phone call because they're depressed or somebody commits suicide in that area. So it's really an inner game. And I think that's what's missing for us today. Everybody's focusing on the outside world, and hell, there's a lot of things in the outside world you'll never be able to control. You can influence, but you can't control it. This, your mind, your emotions, your body, you have 100% control over what you do with these things. And that's where the game is won. You win the inner game, then you win the outer game. But a lot of people spent their life trying to win the outer game. They won and they're miserable. So to me, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And so many people are focused on success still, which to me is like, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like success is getting what you want. Fulfillment is living what you're made for. You know, and it's like fulfillment and success, they're not even the same universe. And there's nothing wrong with going for success, but you really got to figure out what you're made for. And nobody knows in the beginning. So you start where you are and you do what's in front of you, do what's next. And you keep growing until you start to discover, hey, this is my real passion. This is my real hunger and drive. And it can change. People go for 5, 6, 7 years, and then they usually question their business, their career, their body, their relationships. And then one of two things happens. They change direction and feel renewed, or they go, no, I got a great deal here. What the hell's wrong with me? And they recommit and they get stronger. But that's life. And if you don't grow, I don't give a damn how much you got going for you, you're going to be miserable.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Tony Robbins, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, make an impact.
It's always been impact for me. I love people. Somebody asked my mom, was he always like this? She's passed away, but she used to tell the story, so I'd hear her version of the story. And, you know, we grew up in kind of the hood of LA, a really rough territory, and on a commercial street in this crappy little house. There was a lot of violence around there. But right next door was this old liquor store, and we were poor, and she was pregnant with my brother. I was almost 4.5, I guess, years old, 5 years old. And, you know, I would go to that place to get stuff because we had nobody else. My father was an underground parking attendant, so he wasn't there. So it was she and I. And so I guess she sent me next door to get bread and milk, which we desperately needed. We had very little money. I guess I was gone for a very long time where she was worried, and I'd come back with no bread and milk. And she said, where's the bread and milk? And I said, well, there's a poor boy there, so I give him our money. And she says, we're poor, you know? So I've always had that. And I think there's an old movie called Mr. Holland's Opus. I use it sometimes to Date with Destiny. And there's a line in the movie with this man. His whole life was about, you know, writing this great opus and how he'd make it rich and famous and all these things. And he becomes a school teacher, not because he likes kids, but because he gets off at 3 p.m. and has the summers off, thinks he's going to write this opus. And I could cry thinking about it right now because it's just what life's about. You know, life's about love, life's about people. But there's this moment when he loses his job because they cut the music program, and he decides he's going to retire. And he's leaving with his wife and his kid, who's deaf. He's ironically musician. You know the movie.
I am very familiar.
I get teary-eyed thinking about it right now. Every time I watch it, you know, you see this man come, and he's at the latter years of his life. And all of a sudden, as he's leaving, there's this sound in the gym, and he goes, what is that sound? He goes, no, and it's after hours. He goes to open up the gym, and there's all these students from all the years of his 25 years of teaching or 30 years of teaching, whatever it was, and they're all cheering, and he comes down, and he's just stunned by the response. And his wife gets up and says, you know, a lot of people heard about, you know, the retirement of my husband, and I can't believe the outreach. And so we wanted to let him know how much he's loved. And then all of a sudden the doors open, and this little redhead girl who he had blasted in the beginning because she had no talent in the clarinet, but he then fell in love with trying to support her. And it's when he became a better man. She's now an adult, and she's the governor of the state. And she goes bursting in and goes, oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were a little bit running late. And she comes up and she looks at him and gets on stage, and she does this little speech. But the essence of it is, Mr. Holland's touched all of us so much. She says, you know, Mr. Holland had this opus he was going to write. And the word was it was going to make him rich and famous, but he's neither, at least not outside this small town. But she said, but if he just got those riches and fame, he would have missed out on what he has here. And she says, look around you, Mr. Holland. These are the notes of your music. This is the symphony of your life. And sorry, I get emotional. I'm so silly. I'm an emotional guy. That's why I do what I do, because I get to see people's lives change. I get to see moms reclaim themselves. I see children, you know, stand up for themselves. I see men who become men again and really step up and take the responsibilities that make them feel alive. I see people build businesses, and I see people happy again. I see couples coming together. I see joy and happiness, not because life is always like that, but because they can find meaning even when it's painful. And to me, to live a life with that kind of meaning is a gift from God.
Rule number 3, recognize patterns.
If you look at a person's life, most people major in minor things. Jim Rohn, my teacher, used to say that to me all the time, meaning they know about all kinds of things that don't matter. But there's maybe a half dozen things that matter most. There's your body, there's your emotions, there's your relationships, there's your finances, there's your career or your sense of mission or your business. And then there's the spiritual side of life. And so I've always taught on all those areas. But in 2008, when all hell broke loose the first time, you know, I've worked with Paul Tudor Jones, one of the top 10 financial traders for now 25 years, 26 years. And so I knew a little bit in this area. Most people don't know. I know the details of.
You know a lot, man. Hearing you talk about finance, you are freakishly knowledgeable. I've seen you on stage with people that make a living doing it. And not only do you keep up, in many ways, I think they're listening to you as closely as you're listening to them at this point. How do you learn that stuff that deeply?
Well, you know, I go for total immersion. It's like if you learn language a little bit at a time, you know, 2-3 years from now, you don't speak the language. But if I dumped you into Rome and said, you're not leaving for 8 weeks and there's no teacher, you're going to be speaking Italian before you leave there. So I'm a big believer in total immersion, but I also believe in modeling the best on earth. So in Money Master the Game, fortunately, I have access. So it's like, I'm going to interview 50 of the smartest financial people on earth and everybody who's made it from nothing to multi-billionaire. And they all did it different ways. And I'm good at pattern recognition and I'm good at pattern utilization. In fact, I would say to your audience, you know, in 2040, which sounds like a long way from now, 18 years ago like that, your mind will be blown. Half the jobs we have today, according to Oxford and a variety of other universities, are going to be gone. They're replaced by robotics, by algorithms. You know the game. And so the bottom line is you need to be good at pattern recognition. And that's what gets somebody strong at anything. I mean, you look at, you know, why is Amazon doing so well? He realized one pattern was valued over anything else, convenience. Right? If you look at Tom Brady, a friend of mine, he's got pattern recognition like nobody else at 43 years old. He's able to do things no one dreamed could be done. He's got more Super Bowl rings than any team. So I said, I want to go to the best people on earth and see what do they see that none of us see. What's the pattern? Then you got to learn pattern utilization. It's one thing to see it. It's another thing to use it. And then if you're good after a while, you get to pattern creation. It's like if you learn to play the piano, most people play other people's music. And then there's a point you've learned so much that you're able to create. And I think those three skills are the most important skills. So I look at the areas that matter most and say, who already has that extraordinary pattern recognition utilization? So I go to Ray Dalio, who's, you know, returned more money to investors than anyone alive. You know, he's going to have a different level of understanding than the average person. And because I immerse myself so much, most of these interviews are supposed to be 30 minutes. And the average one was 3.5 hours. And so, but like Ray Dalio is now a dear friend of mine. I can pitch and catch with him because I came so over prepared and because I could, again, not just catch the ball he threw, but pitch it back. And so to me, that's what I did. I did for Total Immersion. It was a 3.5-year project and then expanded. I wrote, you know, Unshakable after that because I saw what was going to happen in the markets and I wanted people prepared.
Rule number 4, learn from smart people.
I looked for who are the people producing the greatest results, not who can talk a good game, who's producing the result. A lot of people can talk about it. It's interesting. I'm a results guy. And I believe in modeling. My original teacher was a man named Jim Rohn, you probably heard of, and he used to always say, success leaves clues. If you want something, make it a study, immerse yourself. So when I wrote Money Master the Game, I said, okay, I've been coaching Paul Tudor Jones, one of the top 10 traders for 25 years. I know more than most people ever know in a lifetime, but I want to know it all. So I'm going to interview 50 of the smartest financial people on earth. Ray Dalio, Carl Icahn, right? Warren Buffett. I want to interview people that started with nothing and became multi-billionaires. And they're all different. But my whole belief is you look for, there's like 3 skill sets that we all should have if we're great. And you're really good at these, Jim. I'm not throwing smoke your way. It's just the truth. What's made you great, what makes me great, what made everything take off for any type of business or life is understanding pattern recognition. If you understand pattern recognition, you know what to do with finance. If you understand pattern recognition, you know what to do in business. If you're great at pattern recognition with music, you can do an amazing job. If you're good at pattern recognition with dancing, you can move your body in ways most people never dream of. The people that become masters at pattern recognition, but then pattern utilization, they recognize the pattern, but then they use it. Those are the people that have extraordinary lives. And then there is 1/3 level, and that is pattern creation, where you literally start, you played other people's music so much, and now you know enough that now you're able to create your way of doing things. And I think those 3 skill sets are there. So my process is who's the best in the world on earth and how to get access to them. And at this stage of my life, that's not that difficult to do. But even with the money book, I knew some of them, but then I'd say, listen, I get 4 or 5 people I knew to refer me, and I'd say, give me 30 minutes. My average interview was 3.5 hours. I remember Jack Bogle, who's now passed away, who created Vanguard, saying, I invited Tony Robbins into my house for 30 minutes, and 3.5 hours later, I had the most probing interview of my entire career because, you know, I'm pulling those tools out. And once they saw the level I was playing the game at, then they wanted to help. And that's, you know, now Ray Dalio is a good friend of mine. So the people I have access to that I can pitch and catch with, because I immerse myself and because I learned from all the people around them, it gave me a greater base. So that's what I do with anything. But then I try to take that complexity, like finance, with all these people and all the different approaches. Some are macro traders, you know, some are value traders, et cetera, and say, what are the common denominators? How do I simplify that so we can actually use it, so you can follow through? And that's my process.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, share your knowledge.
I just hate to see people limited. I hate to see people suffering. I've suffered enough myself. I don't want anybody else to suffer. And I'm lit up by being able to see people really take control of their life. And we can't control everything, obviously. There are things beyond our control. But there's so much within our control that people give up because they're afraid or they don't want to fail or they're just pissed off or frustrated or overwhelmed or stressed. And so what I've managed to do is to take fundamental principles that can change the way you think and the way you feel and the way you behave, your finances, your body, your emotions, your relationships. I've been obsessed for principles that can make that happen. But I'm pretty good at creating an environment where I create a community very quickly where 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people in a room for 3 or 4 days with me. And, people who wouldn't sit for a 3-hour movie because, someone spent $300 million on it and you've been there. I'll have 15, 20,000 people there for 50 hours in a weekend. Yeah. And nobody leaves. They can vote with their feet and they get their money back anytime they want. They don't. It's a stadium full of people who become alive. And there are different religions, different backgrounds, different belief systems, different sexual preferences, different political views. And yet we come together for a higher good. And to me, that's the most extraordinary experience. But there's an energy to it also because ideas, when people say knowledge is power, it's a lie. Knowledge is not power. It's potential power. Mm-hmm. Execution trumps knowledge every day of the week. And my job is to get people to execute. And when you get people to execute, they get momentum. And when they get momentum, it's self-fulfilling, right? Okay, I know who I am now. I know what I'm capable of. And you tend to go to higher and higher levels of contribution, of impact, and success.
Rule number 6, manage your mind.
I start with the mind and emotions. And to me, that's not, I don't tell people to believe spiritually or religiously, but I believe prayer is a very useful thing. And reminding yourself you're not the center of the universe and asking for guidance and help and other things do that. I personally believe that, but not everybody does. And I don't tell people they have to, but it starts there. But there's also, when you have a spiritual side of your life, there's a lot less anxiety because you believe there's something greater than yourself. Right. And then you do your part. Yeah. Like you said, I use a similar metaphor when I say it's, trusting God and tie up your camels, that type of thing, right? But what most people don't know is the power of their mind. So there's an entire last 2 chapters of the book. If no one reads anything else, I say, please read those 2 chapters, because if you do everything physically well and you don't manage your mind and emotions, you'll get sick.
Rule number 7, make things simple.
It really comes down to anyone can learn anything if it's important enough to you. What makes it important to me is not just my own life. It's like if I have a problem, my shoulder, my neck, whatever, and I can solve it, I know that there are millions of other people who can be helped by it. So it's like my drive is not just for me. That wouldn't be enough because it's easy to meet your own needs. It's not that difficult. But if you can find something that you care about more than yourself, your daughter, your son, your family, your business, your mission, your community, whatever it is, that's really the secret to energy and vitality and strength and really learning. And I think the other thing is complexity is the enemy of execution. One of the things I want to do with people during this challenge is take things that seem so complex and make them so simple so you do it. If you have a business and you got this huge complex plan, you hired a giant consulting firm, they put it all together, it never gets implemented. You know it, you've been in your companies. Why? Because they make it so complex and it's somebody else's plan. What I really want to do for people at this challenge is get it really simple, things you can do right now to change your life. You can go to experience it that day, and then you get momentum. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and all of a sudden now what used to be hard to do is easy to do. And I think for anyone, you got to understand anyone can learn anything if you can just break it down to its simple core. And that's what I try to do most.
Rule number 8, have a mission.
It's one of the things I'm behind. I have about a dozen really important things to me. Feeding people is most important to me. Yeah. Providing fresh water. I do that in India for 250,000 people a day. Personally, I'm going to get that to 1 million people in the next few years. Wow. It's just about infrastructure. Freeing, boys and girls, women are about 80% of them. I mean, there's a new child abducted every 30 seconds. There's 6 million people in slavery around the world, children in slavery, sexual slavery. We've saved about 3,800 just in the last couple of years. I've gone on the operations myself undercover, but I work with Underground Railroad because they're former SEAL Team 6, CIA, FBI, and we teach the local government what to do to capture these people. So it's not just save some kids right now, but showing them what to do for the future. But I'm also, I'm involved with so many different things. And my answer is, if I think it's core to humanity, then I'm interested. Food is, air is, I've planted 10 million trees in the last year and a half. I'm more fortunate to have my own private jet, but I'm conscious of that. So it's like, how many trees does my whole lifestyle take? It's about 3,000 trees. So I said, I don't want to plant, 10 million. I said, screw it, I'll plant 100 million. So I planted 10 million already. I'm on course to do the 100 million, just like feeding 1 billion people. So it's the things that matter. That's what God's doing. But I do things spontaneously. I was in San Francisco and I read in the newspaper that while I'm there, I was there to see Mark Benioff. And I see that the toughest part of San Francisco is called the Tenderloin District. And there's these nuns there that feed the poorest of the poor, and they're being evicted. And, it's one of the richest cities in the world, more billionaires there, tech billionaires than anyone. No one's doing anything. So I went over, knocked on the door, introduced myself, found out who the person was who was evicting him, called him up and said, look, I'm an owner too. You have the right to evict anybody, but do you really want to be the hated man in San Francisco? I said, why don't you let him stay 9 months? I'll get him out within 9 months. I'll pay you the additional rent. And I did. And then, the nuns, they're looking for a place to lease. And all of a sudden I get a call from the realtor. He goes, they're looking for a place to buy. And I called the nuns and said, you have some money I don't know about? They go, God will provide, as they stare at me. So I bought him a place there, and my friend Mark Benioff then bought them a home to live in. So, I do things spontaneously. I love those things as well. But the secret to living is giving. I know it sounds corny, but I had a tough time in my life. I remember I was driving on the street in this 1968 Volkswagen. I was working so hard and I was so frustrated. Things weren't going the way I thought they should. And I was like, what's wrong? And then I pulled over to the side, and I still have it today, this written journal. I wrote, the secret to living is giving. I started crying because I lost the giving mode. I got into the business mode. And to me, like I said, business is a spiritual game. If you're focused on giving, if you're doing more for your client or customer than anybody else, you will dominate. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. And that's what I've been able to do with, my 50 plus companies.
Rule number 9, help others.
That's really the essence of it. I used to have all these fancy things, but it's like today I just want to help. If I can be helpful to somebody, it gives me tremendous joy. My hats say, be a blessing and you're blessed, right? That's what these little hats are. I don't have a non-religious symbol, like a lucky symbol, but it's amazing how lucky you get when you're working hard to be a blessing. And it's amazing what happens for people. So my life is already so blessed, and whatever happens when I'm gone is gone. But while I'm here, I want to live fully, and I want to touch as many lives and help as many people as I can and keep growing myself.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is inspire people.
I don't believe I'm everybody's teacher or I've got it all handled, but I've spent 42 years looking for answers. So when I was growing up, they called me a motivator, they called me a guru, and I hated those terms because I'm not better than anybody else. And I thought, who's influenced my life? I'm an athlete, so coaches did. And I was actually a much better athlete than some of my coaches, but they still were invaluable to me because they saw what I couldn't see because I was in the forest. I was on the court, right? They were outside of it. And so that's why I started to call myself a coach, not a guru. And also because I want people to know there's nobody broken. You don't need to be fixed. You might have some behaviors that don't work. You might have some habits. You might have some thinking habits, emotional habits. And we're the only humans, the only creatures that should say on the planet that can think a thought and get ourselves angry. Think a thought and get worried. Think a thought and get excited. Think a thought and feel grateful. Think a thought and be pissed off. And most of us just don't know how to run the show. And so what I try to do, that documentary is a kind of a 2-hour summary of a 6-day seminar I do called Date with Destiny. But you get to see somebody who's suicidal. There are many people, like in a room of 2,000-3,000 people. There's always a dozen people are suicidal. So there's a woman there that was in this cult down in Brazil.
Yeah.
Remember her?
Yeah.
I just saw her. I was just in Brazil, just in Rio, literally a week ago. And that was 5 years ago that film was made. Right. And she has written a book. She's gotten out of the cult. She's got other people out of the cult. She's become a healer, and I'm just really, really proud of her. So seeing the change last, because most people think if you're going to change that fast, first of all, they don't think it's possible, but it is. You get upset that fast. You get wired that fast. You get conditioned that fast. But to see 5 and 10 years later that people's lives are changed is important for people to see so they know that you really can produce change in a moment that is lasting.